Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about the surveillance society, and in this week's workshop, basically we're going to look at the issue of surveillance society. From literature, we've been told that Monsieur Foucault, he devoted a lot of time, trying to understand the techniques of governmentality and surveillance. Governmentality basically means the way the government is managed. And in so doing, he came to understand that actually they are surveillance societies that collect data. So, in this week, we're going to take an excursion into our surveillance society, how that impacts on our lives. We're going to look at or trying to understand why are we subject to constant observation, and what are its effects, and does this really have policy implications for health and well-being? So firstly, let me try to define what surveillance society means. Basically, surveillance societies are societies which function in part because of the extensive collection, recording, storage, analysis, and application of data. And this is usually information on individuals and the groups in these societies as they go about their daily lives. So, privacy nowadays is an illusion, because our lives are highly transparent. Everything that we do is monitored. There are cameras all over, and when we log into the internet, our activities can easily be monitored and traced. As such, living in that illusion of privacy, probably that helps us to live a normal life, to be contented that our life is secure, while in actual fact it's not. Because at any given time, when your conscience tells you that you're being monitored, every second and every activity of your life, it can bring a lot of depression and all other ills. So, what is the idea behind surveillance societies? The implication here is that they are societies which have got power. They have assumed the power to collect information about individuals and their groups and use that information to influence people's lives in terms of what they eat, what they dress, what they do. And as we said earlier, Monsieur Foucault spent a lot of time researching about this phenomenon and trying to understand the source of this power and how it influences society. And in his presentation, he had a theory called the panopticon theory. What the panopticon theory says is that this is power that surveillance assumes or has an influence on self-regulation. Which means that as we are conscious about our lives being monitored, it influences how we live. There are certain things that we cannot do because we are afraid they will be spotted, will be reviewed. Let me give you an example. Nowadays, it's not easy for a married man or a married woman to have a secret affair, because there are so many ways in which such activities can be monitored. If you go on the internet, social media, if you engage into phone conversations, all these channels are monitored. If you go to any secret place such as hotels, there are secret cameras, and that makes life difficult. As such, people are self-regulated. And then let me just quickly draw to this slide. This slide by Meshu Foucault basically is a picture showing this building, which is basically a prison. It's a picture of a prison which has been designed in a circular form, and then all the cells where prisoners are kept, as it's circular, it has a watchtower in the center, meaning the people that monitor the prisoners are stationed in the watchtower at the middle, and they have a clear view of each and every cell, the activities of prisoners in each and every cell, and in so doing, it helps it self-regulates the prisoners in their way of conduct. There are certain things they cannot do because they are afraid of being watched. So the panopticon must not be understood as a dream building. However, it is a diagram of a mechanism of power reduced to its ideal form. The power that is embedded in the central tower to be able to monitor every prisoner's activity and be able to work on their minds to self-regulate their behavior. And in so doing, it helps to control their lives. So, basically, the panopticon was designed by a man called Jeremy Bentham. He was an exemplar of power. Basically, he was an example of power, and as stipulated according to Meshu Foucault. So we see that in a similar manner, our lives are like a panopticon. So we have the central towers where certain forces for certain societies are based, and they are able to view our activities via the social media, via the secret cameras placed in the streets, in shops, and etc. So, to give you more information about the contemporary panopticon, basically it's about data monitoring and mining. Data monitoring and mining is demonstrated in the following video. I want you to pay attention the story about the video, because it will shock you. And it's gonna give you a lot of information on how powerful a secret society is. So just sit calmly and pay attention and watch.
We say we value our privacy, but every day, online and in the real world, we're being watched.
There are an awful lot of people looking over your shoulder.
Corporations and governments are doing the watching. So what do they do with the data?
I don't think any social system, any government can survive knowing everything about its citizens without ultimately that being corrupted.
Life in the digital age. Welcome to Four Corners. It's hardly news in this era of information-rich technology that privacy is gradually being eroded, or that our digital profiles are being converted to all kinds of uses without us having much idea of exactly what's going on. But tonight's story will still startle you because we use one fairly typical Australian family to illustrate just how the mostly innocuous tools of the internet, in common use, are being used globally to compile our histories, our interests, our activities for government or commercial purposes. The cash that's generated by corporations is mind-boggling. What governments get up to could be useful for the broad community, could be innocuous, or could be a breach of your privacy. Largely, we take them on trust. The question, of course, doesn't just relate to the here and now. It relates to where we're headed, because the explosion of information being generated, stored, and analysed is going to grow massively in the years ahead. And it can do your head in to try to think the implications through. Reporter Jeff Thompson presents this simple but fascinating story of a day in the life of one family in the digital age.
The human race now produces 28 billion gigabytes of data every day, and 90% of the data currently in existence was created in just the last 2 years. Australians are among the most connected people in the world. In Sydney's eastern suburbs, this is the home of a family we'll call the Pappases. They are waking up, getting ready for an average day of work, school, and life at home. The 5 family members agreed to let us intercept and record their online data over 24 hours. Helen and Jim are mum and dad. 24-year-old Katerina is their eldest child. Alexia is 16 and Christina is 12.
Well, first of all, I'd probably check my Instagram.
Christina's favourite things to check online are YouTube, Tumblr and Instagram.
I like it because you can check out what people are getting up to and what they're doing, and you can usually see what celebrities are up to.
The terms and conditions of these sites say you have to be at least 13 to use them. But like most users of free internet services and mobile apps, no one in the Pappas family ever really reads the fine print.
No, I don't actually read the fine print.
I've never read the terms and conditions in my life, and I think they've deliberately made them 10 or 15 pages long so that people don't actually read it. But yeah, no, I don't read terms and conditions at all.
Even if there are 156 pages of terms and conditions, very conveniently, though, that checkbox is on page 1. And I suspect the majority of Australians have never read a privacy policy, and if they had, they probably couldn't understand it.
The morning we track the family's activity, Christina is the busiest online. But the connections she's making are not just one way.
If we think that we're in our lounge room or bedroom engaging in the internet, that it's just us. There are an awful lot of people looking over your shoulder.
As Christina leaves for school, her data is already travelling to America, the Netherlands and Britain. 24 sites she's never even clicked on know she likes Selena Gomez and have witnessed her peruse photos of her friends and plan a trip to the movies.
I don't really mind because I'm not doing anything like that secret on my accounts, so it's not a big deal to me.
But when you visit a website, you'll be given a cookie in your browser, and that can be from that website or it could be from an ad network which has placed that code on that website. They can then, using that cookie, track what you look at on the website, and then when you visit other websites that have the same technology, they can serve you ads based on the behaviour that you've shown across a number of websites which they're tracking.
Tracking websites are following Christina unseen from the internet's shadows, learning her online habits so that advertisers can target her more accurately. What would you do if people you didn't know were following her around like that in the real world?
What would I do? I'd go crazy probably, or I'd be very upset. The issue of tracking a child, according to the law, they're a child. According to most human beings, they're a child. And do these companies discriminate between the internet activity of a child and that of an adult? The answer is no. And that does have massive social implications for us.
Popular free internet services like those offered by Google and Facebook are among the most intensive trackers of our online lives. They can know more about you than your best friend. The two companies are less than 15 years old, but generate about $61 billion a year. 56 billion of that is made by Google alone, and 95% of that income derives from targeted advertising based on your online behaviour.
Unfortunately, when you're talking about free online, it usually means you become the product.
Ticking the box and getting into this free service, I can get on and do my things. They're giving away the same thing that we are, which is something like Facebook is a free service. They're giving away themselves as a bit of an advertising target to begin with. They're going to get targeted with information that fits their demographic. That's the nature of a free service.
Alexei has more apps on his phone than anyone else in the family.
I think that we sometimes forget that at the end of the day, apps are talking over the internet just like the browser is. Maybe it's the fact that it's such a little device in your pocket and it's a more comfortable sort of environment. I don't know, but at the end of the day, they're doing the same thing with the browser and your PC. So the difference is you're doing it all day long, you're doing it while you're sitting on the toilet. It can happen any time. So basically, as soon as you open a web page on your phone, all of those requests can be intercepted by anyone who's sitting in the middle of the traffic.
We arranged for internet security researcher Troy Hunt to drop around onto the Pappas' home to check out Alexei's apps.
And we'll look at the data that was sent. So there's your email address and there's your nice, strong, random password that had lots of good characters and length. And unfortunately, this NRL app is just censored over the internet without any protection.
Troy finds serious security flaws in 3 of the apps on Alexei's phone. Apps for America's National Basketball Association and Australia's National Rugby League failed to secure user information over the internet.
So let's take a look at Roosters. This is another good example. If we jump into, say, the store, and as we browse the store, we can see all the traffic going through here. And so you want to grab a cap, and we'll take one of those, we'll add that to the basket.
Yeah.
So we've got that in our shopping basket. Let's now go and proceed to the checkout.
Oh, yeah. Good for to work.
And then what we'll do, we've got a bunch of dummy data in here. Let's go through and put in a dummy credit card number as well.
The worst flaw was found in the app of NRL team, the Sydney Roosters.
And what we see is that the protocol is HTTP. So what that means is that it's not an encrypted protocol. It means all that credit card data would be available to anyone who was able to observe the connection. particularly alarming. It's something that there are industry standards around, so that's probably not real good for the Roosters. But the other thing is that when you do this in a mobile app, you don't get to see the address bar, you don't get to see HTTPS or a padlock or anything like that. So he could have used that app with the best of intentions, thinking that they'd done their security right and had no idea that his credit card information was flying around the internet unprotected.
So what we now get is we can see that there's the first name, there's the last name, the phone number, we've got an email address, we've got all the delivery data, which is probably going to be your home address, and that's the sort of stuff attackers want in order to go and do identity theft. And then when we go down a little bit, what we find is here's the credit card number. So we've got that, we've got the credit card expiry, and we have got the credit card verification number, as well as obviously the name on the credit card. And what we see is...
Yeah, it just kind of shocked me a bit that the apps that I thought were official and mainstream and kind of trustworthy, they're not what they seem. So, yeah, it's just kind of interesting that something that I trust isn't actually trustworthy at all.
So that's a real problem with this app, and it's unfortunate because when you're sitting at a PC and you're doing your banking or you're doing your shopping, you get a little padlock icon and you can sort of look for that and you get some sort of confidence in the security of the website, but you don't get that in an app. So all you know with an app is these guys are saying, hey, trust me with your credit card details. So that one basically has not even an attempt at securing your credentials.
Since being told of their app security flaw by Four Corners last week, the Sydney Roosters say the problem has been fixed. A self-employed financial planner, Jim Pappas can afford to wait at home until the peak hour rush into the city is over. Like most of us, he has toll tags attached to his vehicles and accepts the convenience of automatic billing in exchange for transport authorities knowing when he uses tollways. What he doesn't know is that when he passes some traffic lights, New South Wales Roads and Maritime Services is downloading information from his mobile phone by scanning its Bluetooth signal.
I haven't thought about it because I didn't know that occurred. A bit of a privacy issue there, I suppose. Yeah, I wouldn't be too happy with it, depending on who gets the information and how it's used.
Do you feel like you should be asked permission first?
Absolutely.
It's a question of what they're actually capturing and saving. I mean, the concern that I would have...
We say we value our privacy, but every day, online and in the real world, we're being watched.
Okay, I think there was a technical problem with that video. I'm gonna close that, and I'll ask you to watch this from Moodle. You can download it, or from the slides. You can play it at home and just complete watching the whole video. It has valuable information, so for you to understand exactly what surveillance community is all about and how it influences our lives. And also, that information will help you to answer the questions for our TAT activity. So, having said that, there's just one more article from a newspaper from the US that talked about how surveillance society involving the government in the collection, analysis, and use of private information, how how it has been done and the manner in which it has been done, basically it can be considered as illegal. So let me just quickly, yes, okay, here is our article. So the title is NSA. Basically stands for National Security Agency, that is of the USA. Abuses contradict Obama and congressional claims of oversight. So basically, so yeah. So if you read with me,
The National Security Agency broke privacy rules and overstepped its authority thousands of times since 2008. That's when Congress granted the NSA broad new powers. Most of the violations involved unauthorized surveillance of Americans or foreign intelligence targets inside the U.S. The Post says the information comes from an internal audit and other top-secret documents provided by NSA leaker Edward Snowden. CBS News national security analyst Juan Zarate is in Washington this morning with more on this. Juan, good morning to you. Good morning, Jeff. The Post says that these range from significant violations of law to typographical errors. How much is the latter and how much the former?
Well, it seems to be a mix, Jeff, and I think that the numbers will raise concerns regardless of the details here. The fact is, this is more than just a few inadvertent episodes. It's really a sense from the internal audits inside the government of the violations and the overstepping by the NSA. I think people are going to see this different ways depending on their perception and trust of the NSA. Certainly, this is going to add fuel to the fire regardless.
Is it a systematic issue, Juan, or is it individuals doing things every once in a while?
Well, it appears to be somewhat related to human error, somewhat related to technological challenges. For example, some of the violations appear to be related to an inability to determine when certain types of cell phones move into the United States, and so an inability to determine when to stop collecting. And so this is a challenge for the NSA because there are technological issues at play and a Byzantine legal structure to adhere to. And so that explains the number of violations, I think. But I think the devil is going to be in the details here as we dig into the actual violations.
I mean, Juan, this is nearly 3,000 violations over a one-year period. We should point out that the NSA says, though, in a statement, quote, "We're a human-run agency operating in a complex environment with a number of different regulatory regimes, so at times we find ourselves on the wrong side of the line." But we have been assured up and down, both on background with officials and on television, that the proper oversight is in place. And yet this audit wasn't even shared with top members of Congress.
Nora, you're absolutely right. This is going to add to the debate about what the oversight actually is. And the NSA will say and has said that these audits are a part of that oversight, that they're obviously going to make mistakes, that the technology changes, they've got human error. But you're absolutely right. This is going to raise serious concerns about not just what's in this report, but perhaps what's not being reported. And this is going to add fuel to the fire for the administration in terms of putting in place new oversight mechanisms.
All right, Juan Zarate, thank you.
Okay. Okay, that was just a short piece on the surveillance oversights of the NSA. And what it means is that basically, government is collecting information from the population without their permission on personal information. And this information is being used for various purposes. And sometimes these purposes can be harmful to their people. And how much of this, for example, is going on in South Africa? And I want you to reflect on this as well, because we are not exempted from government surveillance. For example, if you phone into a call center, a government call center, not only is your number recorded, but also your conversation is recorded. And not only that, there are many instances where we receive anonymous calls, or sometimes calls from corporate companies seeking for business, engagements, and you wonder where they got your numbers. And so these are some of the issues that we are dealing with, that there's no privacy. And wherever we sign in, with our names and IDs, that information is being used. For example, a social network group or a bank or probably a financial institution would call you, and firstly they'll identify your name and your ID, and then once you confirm that, then they'll present their case, whatever they are selling, and you wonder how they got the information. So really, this is a very important subject, in the sense that our privacy has been invaded. And in this invasion, how much of it is harmful and how much of it is useful? And these are some of the issues we need to reflect on. What can we do about it? Do we have any powers to control this kind of invasion? And how much of this information actually is used to influence policy, and how that influences on our health and well-being? So, what policy response would you believe is appropriate for this situation? And do we really need one? How does all this do for corporate power, marketing, and consumption? Does it have health implications? If so, what are these likely to be? And what would you or what would we do about them? So these are pertinent questions that need answers. And I want you to take some time to think about it, to do some revision. There's a lot of additional information on the internet and an additional reading in our weekly reading about this subject. Please do that, and I want you to answer these questions as our third exercise, and send me the response. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a submission site. Submit your response to that site on Moodle by next week, Monday, so that I'll be able to review them quickly. So it doesn't have to be an essay, but the quality of your response indicates how serious you have taken the subjects and how you have studied it. And your participation in this third activity is going to reflect your attendance of this lecture. So, meaning that if you do not submit this activity response, it means you are absent from this lecture. So I'll tick you absent if you don't submit. Please get this information clearly. And of course, this week we're supposed to have group presentations. That has been postponed to next week, hopefully, because of the water shortage. And we'll try to adjust the remaining part of the semester to fit into the available time, and hopefully that will have minimum inconveniences to your study schedules. I do apologize for this, but It's not my own making. I hope that you can organize yourself and then be able to put in your best. And then I know that this is a very busy time of the semester when most of the tests and the assignments are being presented and submitted. Sorry for that, but that brings us to the end of this short lecture. I wish you all the best. See you next week. Bye.